Alright, today we're starting 9.3, which is perimeters and area of composite figures. And our learning goal is that I can find areas and perimeters of shapes to make up composite figures. So before you start, I want you to do the warm-up on your own, and then I will be checking this next class. So go ahead and pause the video here to do that. Alright, so first we need to talk about vocabulary. So composite figure is made up of triangles, squares, rectangles, semicircles, and other two-dimensional figures. To find the perimeter of a composite figure, you need to find the distance around the figure. To find the area of the composite figures, you need to first separate the figure into smaller shapes, and then you need to find those areas and add them together. So it says estimate the area and the perimeter. So estimating, we know that we don't have to be exact. So I'm going to start by counting these two. So I have two, remember perimeter is the distance around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I have 14. And then the diagonals, we know that diagonals are going to be a little bit more than 1. So if I had to estimate, I would consider one diagonal to be about 1.5 of a distance from, like, this would be considered 1, so we know it's a little bit more than that. So I can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 diagonals. So I'm going to say 4 times 1.5 equals 6. So then I'm going to add 6 plus 14, and I say that I would guess that my perimeter is 20. So now for area, what I'm going to do when I'm estimating is, again, it's not exact. Estimating is just getting close to or making an educated guess. So I see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 across. So those are 6 whole squares or filled in squares. And I see that there's 2 rows of those. So I'm going to say that there's 12 whole squares. And then these halves, well, they look like they're cut in half. So I'm going to say that there's 4 cut in half. And that gives me 2. And then I'm going to add those together. And I would say that my area, which is how many filled in squares I have, I'm going to guess that those are 4. That would be about 14. So I'm going to have you pause this video, and I want you to estimate the perimeter and the area, and then I want you to compare yours with mine. Alright, so here's what I got for my estimation of my perimeter and my area. So I counted 5 across the top and the bottom, and then 2 on the sides, and then there's one more set of 2 full squares over here. So I did 5 times my top and bottom. Then I did 2 times the 3 like stacked that I found. And then I saw that there were 10 of these little half boxes. So the ones that were cut by a diagonal. And I multiplied that by 1.5 because up here we decided that it would be a little bit more than the length of the box. So I called it 1.5. And then I added all those together and I got 31. In blue, you can see where I tried to estimate my area. So I kind of cut it in sections. So I had 2 sets of 11 and 2 sets of 12. So I added those together and got 46. And then I went around counterclockwise, and I called these two 1. These two made another full square. This made my third full square, my fourth full square, and my fifth full square. And so when I added my 5 full squares together, I got 51. Since we don't know the units, we're going to put units and then units squared, because the area, we always square the units. All right, so now we need to find the actual perimeter of the shape. So here we can see that this is a half circle. And so when I'm finding the perimeter of a circle, we know that we have circumference, so circumference equals, and we have the diameter because it goes all the way across, so this is our diameter. So we have diameter times pi, and so we have 10 times 3.14. And then remember, we have to divide it in half because this is a half circle. And that equals, so we have 10 times 3.14, and then divide it by 2, so we get 15.7. And then for our triangle, we have this length, so 8 plus this length, which is 6, so we have 14. And so now I'm going to add these two together, so 14 plus 15.7 is 29.7. And we always say about 29.7 or about whatever it is because we rounded our pi. And so since it's not exact, we're going to use the word about. So over here we had a circle, well, semicircle, and then a triangle. All right. So now we need to find the area. And so first we're going to find the area of the triangle, which is 1/2 base times height. So our base is always like on the ground or perpendicular or parallel to the bottom. And then our height is how tall is the triangle. So this is our height, this is our base. So we have 1/2 8 times 6, which equals 24, half of 48. Well, sorry, that should have been a 2. Half of 48 is 24. All right, so now we're going to find the area of the semicircle. And remember that the circle is pi r squared. And then since it's half a circle, we divide it by 2. So we have 3.14 times our radius. Now remember, our radius is only halfway, so from the center of the circle to the outer edge of the circle. So this is actually going to be 5 because half of 10 is 5, and that's our radius. And then squared. Now remember, this is 5 times 5. So we're going to do 3.14 times 5 times 5. And then divided by 2. So we have 39.25. And now we add the two together. So plus our 24, and we get 63 and 25/100ths. And since it was in feet, this would be feet squared. And up here we just have feet. Don't forget those labels. All right, so you're going to try this. So pause the video. You're finding the perimeter and the area, and then you're going to compare your answer with mine. All right, so to find the perimeter, you'll notice if you trace around the shape, because we're just finding the distance around, I never actually touched the square in the middle, so we didn't need this at all for the perimeter. So circumference is diameter times pi and then divided by 2 because they're half circles. And then, so when I do 2 times 3.14 divided by 2, I get 3.14. and then I multiply this by 4 because there are 4 half circles. And I got 12 and 56 hundredths. You could have also done 2 times 0, so our diameter times pi, which is 6.28, and then saw that we had 2 halves make a whole, so these 2 would be now a whole, and then these 2 would be a whole, so then I would just multiply this by 2, and I would still get the same answer. So either way, you can do, like you can get to the same perimeter. Then, if I'm finding the area, I'm finding pi r squared divided by 2 because it's a half circle. So pi times 1, because remember our radius equals 1, because our diameter is we have to divide that by 2 to get our radius. So we had 2 divided by 2, and that gave us 1. So 1 times 3.14 squared, 1 squared is just 1, and so we divide that by 2 and we get 1 and 57 hundredths. And then again we have 4 half circles, and so we multiply that by 4 and we get 6.28. And then now we need the center. Now we have to have the square on the inside. So we're going to do length times width, which our length, it says, is 2, and so is our width. We just bring this up. And so 2 times 2 is 4, and then you add the 2 together. I want you to practice one more time and try the exit ticket, and then after that you may start your homework.